The story kicks off in a world going through some seriously weird stuff like a giant abalone and a tree with massive roots, not to mention cracks and vines just falling from the sky. Meanwhile, at Shinwoo High, a crowd is gathering for some primetime drama because the most popular girl in school looks like she's about to dump her boyfriend. The tea is piping hot, and the rumor is she was only dating him out of pity since she's heading to an elite university, and he got left in the dust with no college plans. Then a guy named Fong Yi pops up in the crowd, looking totally confused by all the sudden attention on him. Right on cue, the redhead starts her speech. She says she's thought about it, and the relationship is just not realistic. She continues her little monologue, claiming that high school romances always fizzle out and they need to snap back to the reality that they're just not a match. With an ice-cold stare, the young woman finally ends it all and warns him that it's impossible for him to win her back, no matter what he tries. The crowd around them wonders why he isn't saying anything, guessing the shock must have totally broken him. At that, his ex brags about being the most popular, and the peanut gallery agrees he was way out of her league. To everyone's surprise, the guy responds with a simple "oh, okay" and casually tosses something away. Faced with this, the redhead is left completely stunned, unable to process his reaction. He then turns to leave, and the girl calls after him, annoyed, but he doesn't even give her the time of day. The main character glances back and coldly asks if she needed anything else. Furious, she yells that it doesn't matter what trick he's pulling because they are never, ever getting back together. With a smirk, the guy gives her a look that's all smug confidence. Then he tells the popular girl not to kid herself because he's got way bigger fish to fry right now. At this, the red is completely speechless and has no idea what to say to her ex. The people around them are also shocked by the young man's attitude as he walks away. But he's thinking that nobody there has a clue that the world is about to turn to ash because this guy came back from a future disaster, and to him, she's just some stranger from another lifetime. With that, the MC keeps walking, not caring about anything else. He strolls on, thinking that popularity and reputation don't matter anymore because the world is about to change. The real crisis on the horizon is for all of humanity, not just for him. It all started the night before, when he remembered a brilliant light shattering in his memories. He sees fragments of a future with a blood moon and a raging sea. The guy recalls flashes of lightning and a bizarre monster attacking a city in ruins with glowing red eyes. He processes these terrifying memories of the future. Soon, the age of cultivators will arrive, and the rules of the world will be rewritten based on power. Suddenly, the guy screams "wait" as a blue energy surrounds him completely. Then he finds himself in a strange place and asks, "Who's there?" Facing a bright light moment, his eyes turn red and a strange pain hits him out of nowhere. A screen appears, explaining it's a system from the end of the universe designed to create cultivation techniques. Intrigued by what he sees, the young man reaches out to touch the mysterious blue screen with his finger on the panel. He tries to figure out how this otherworldly thing works. But as soon as he touches it, another vision of a giant, terrifying monster appears before him. The bizarre creature then shows up, enveloping him in a golden energy as a screen floats by. His red eyes glow intensely as he stares at the horrifying vision of the future. He sees that his fate was to be wiped out by the creature, along with the rest of humanity. Back in reality, the young man is breaking out in a cold sweat, looking deeply shaken by the memories. His chest, he wonders if that was his old, powerless self. With a confident smile, he remembers that in his other life, he was just a regular Joe trying to survive. The guy recalls watching his nation fall and all his people suffer from that calamity. In his memories, he couldn't escape the mutant beast that was destroying the city. Then he remembers dying, filled with despair and a burning desire for revenge. Within his red eyes, you could see the reflection of the monster that defeated him. Maybe that's why the system brought him back a year before the aura returned. The guy knows that right now, most people have no idea what's about to happen. He then extends his hand and touches a light that shatters into several pieces in front of him. With this, the young man decides he'll use every anomaly caused by the aura to his advantage. Immediately, a screen appears, and the system begins a new evaluation of him. With a new power, his eyes shine brightly as he faces his destiny with determination. The system then informs him that a new path has opened, and he must collect techniques to save the world. At this, humanity realizes the imminent crisis and that they can only rely on their own strength to survive. The government, for its part, doesn't deny the rumors but simply tells people to prepare for the worst. To do this, they use cell phones to send out alerts about the strange creatures that are appearing. Several people are gathered in an auditorium to hear about the recent events. He thinks the government's quiet approach is harsh but much more effective than the chaos in the neighborhood. The guy remembers the system told him to use anything, and he wonders where the anomalies are occurring. Just then, a message about Ching Ching University appears, telling students to be careful. He sees that the university's UV index has hit an all-time high and a heat advisory has been issued. Around him, people are saying the news is fake and that a heat wave like that would kill anyone. He looks up at the sky and finds it strange, as the weather there is different and the university is nearby. To his surprise, his phone's, the app shows that the UV index right there is 0, confirming his suspicion. An alert warns people to avoid a university gate with a high UV index, but the comments still think it's a hoax. He smirks, thinking that most people believe this is all just a prank. But the guy knows the truth, and his first real shot at getting powerful has finally arrived. So he heads to the north gate of Ching University, which is usually pretty empty. As soon as he gets close, the young man feels the intense heat and starts sweating from the high temperature. He looks around and confirms that there's definitely something very strange going on in that place. Just then, he sees a few people running in terror, but his attention is drawn to some particles in the air. Curious about what he's seeing, the MC crouches down and reaches out to touch one of the points of light. With his finger right up close, he finally touches the golden energy to see what will happen. In that moment, the guy is shocked by the golden light that explodes in front of him. A blue screen pops up, announcing that the system has found yang energy and will create a new power. With that, the young man screams in pain as the golden energy courses through his entire body. A massive explosion of light engulfs the entire university gate. People nearby are confused, wondering if that was a super scion. The MC continues to scream in agony, and his hair starts turning white. Floating in the air, he wonders if the process is over, because he feels like he's about to die. But the system informs him that he has obtained the golden sun breathing technique. Sometime later, it's new student registration day at Ching University. Over at the registration area, our hero's ex-girlfriend shows up, and a guy offers to help with her suitcase. Soon, several other guys join in to try their luck with the popular girl from school. However, the young woman coldly turns down their help, saying it won't be necessary. With a scornful look, she watches a deeply in love couple nearby. But suddenly, a huge blast of golden light surprises the redhead and the other students. Then an alert over the loudspeakers warns everyone to stay away from the north gate immediately. With a serious look, the girl decides she needs to investigate these bizarre events herself. While at the north gate, a massive explosion of golden energy lights up everything around. Emerging from the smoke, a shadowy silhouette takes form with an aura of immense power. Then he takes a deep breath, and his eyes glow with an intense, powerful golden light. A screen appears, explaining that the technique has been created and he has earned 50 compilation points. The guy holds the screen and wonders what these so-called compilation points are for, but he decides it doesn't matter right now, as it will surely be useful for the future. Shortly after, time passes, and it's already night, with a strange moon shining in the sky. With that, the young man begins to practice his new golden sun breathing technique. Strong sun shines in the sky as a new energy spreads across Ching University. Just then, some students feel the sky darken and cool for a moment as they run towards the north gate. Over there, a large crowd forms to see what's happening. In the middle of the chaos, the university's dean gets angry and asks why everyone ignored the warning to stay away. The group then pushes through the crowd, which parts for them as they head to the center of the event. With a serious look, the hooded figure orders the dean to completely lock down the north gate area. Just then, the system informs our hero that he has successfully purified a rank-up polluted zone. The guy discovers that the government already marks these zones and wonders if there are others like him. Hearing the alert about unauthorized personnel, the young man realizes that things just got real. At that moment, the students see figures in uniform and wonder if they're from the army. From the top of a building, our hero notices that the commotion is drawing a lot of attention. With his red eyes glowing, he decides it's time to bounce and leaps off the building. On the ground, the mysterious hooded person walks over the energy-cracked soil. Posing stance, the hooded figure observes the scene of the incident with focus. This person crouches down and touches the ground to analyze the traces of energy. Shortly after, she picks up a piece of the ground to examine what happened there up close. With an analytical gaze, the hooded figure realizes the energy was caused by a person. Just then, officials evacuate the students, while the person in the hood watches from a distance. In the middle of the crowd, the guy's ex-girlfriend is shocked to hear that the event was the work of a single person. In that instant, she spots a silhouette leaping away and wonders if that was her ex, but the redhead quickly dismisses the idea. With his grades, there's no way he could be here. Far away, at our hero's house, the sun sets and night finally begins to fall. Lying in bed, the young man complains that the heat in his body won't go away, not even with a cold shower. Because of this, he fears he won't be able to sleep if the heat continues like this all night. He worries that with today's commotion, someone might have noticed something strange. Then the guy picks up his phone and sees a trending story about a cultivation association. The young man remembers that before, everyone thought this was just an internet joke. Just then, he recalls the hooded people at the university and suspects they're from the association. Curious about the discovery, the MC opens the news story to read the full article. The article details the cultivation realms, from ghost acts to total transcendence. In the comments, everyone thinks it's fake, but he wonders if the announcement might be official. The hero reflects that in his past life as a civilian, he never knew about this information. Sitting on his bed, he thinks about the Cultivation Association and decides to test his technique again. With that, the young man closes his eyes and concentrates to begin his training. In that moment, he starts to sweat as a powerful golden energy surges around him. The MC begins to float in his room, enveloped in an intense golden aura. A light shines on him, and the first step is to refine his body to contain the aura of heaven and earth. He manages to control the energy and successfully shapes it into the form of a divine axe. His eyes gleam intensely, and a confident smile appears on his power-filled face. The system congratulates him for reaching the Dao Shui realm and gives him 50 compilation points. The guy remembers the points and reads the screen that talks about a new path opening up. The system explains that the points can be used to imbue compiled data into any object. He mulls over the idea of imbuing power into an object and stares at his mug on the table. Then he extends his hand toward the mug with a golden aura of power. The system asks if he wants to spend 1 point to place the yang attribute on the item. He understands that this is like enchanting an item, giving it a supernatural power. The young man thinks that if he did this to a weapon, it would become his unique combat item. Soon, he decides that having a powered-up weapon will be crucial for the future that's coming. The guy then finds a small sword on his shelf and decides to test the power on it. He thinks that if the test works, he'll buy a real weapon to be ready for the monsters. Suddenly, a weird noise from outside the building catches his attention in the middle of the night. Outside, a shadowy creature with huge claws is watching the hero's apartment with glowing red eyes. The bizarre creature shows its sharp teeth in the darkness. The strange creature, which looks like a giant demonic rabbit, prepares to attack the building. But inside the apartment, the guy has no idea of the danger that is approaching him. Lying in bed, the MC feels some discomfort from his new cultivation technique. With his red eyes, he wonders where that rat-like sound came from. He thinks the sound isn't coming from inside or from the pipes, and maybe it's a neighbor's pet. Walking through the living room, he thinks that with his enhanced hearing, it's normal to hear the neighbors. Then the guy sharpens his hearing to focus and get a better read on the strange sound. But the young man soon realizes that something is wrong and becomes alert to the strange situation. The hero goes to the door and comes face to face with the sinister creature right there in the dark hallway. In the hallway, the bizarre creature with red eyes appears and glares at him, ready to attack. Startled, he recognizes the mutant beast, and the memory of his past life sends a shiver down his spine. Meanwhile, a drone flies over the city at night, showing that others are aware of the danger. On top of a building, a girl complains that they still haven't caught the rabbit that ate a rare fruit. With a lollipop in her mouth, the young woman seems pretty calm and confident for the mission ahead. She then orders them to keep sending all updates on the target she's hunting. At that, the mysterious girl leaps from the top of the building to begin her pursuit, falling at high speed. She moves with nimble grace between the huge city buildings. Suddenly, the young woman senses the mutant beast's aura and realizes she's closing in on the target. With her eyes glowing, she finally locates the creature and prepares for a confrontation. The mysterious hunter lands hard on a rooftop, moving with incredible agility. Running down the side of a building, she receives the order to pursue the target at all costs. With a firm and precise landing, the young woman continues her chase without wasting a second. Leaping between buildings, she warns that the creature ate a spirit fruit and could evolve. Just then, a man working late sees a blur pass by his window and is left completely confused. He wonders if he's hallucinating, but his boss chews him out for just standing there doing nothing. Meanwhile, the hunter is seen as a silhouette against the moon on the 65th floor. Back in the apartment, the hero is face to face with the bizarre creature, which shrieks in front of him. With his golden eyes, he realizes his body has changed, and now he can fight on equal footing. Then the creature attacks with its claws, but the young man dodges with superhuman agility. The hero thinks that his body has changed a lot, and now he can see the attacks in slow motion. With sun energy in his hand, he wonders why a mutant beast has appeared so early. At this, he recalls the things he saw in his past life and faces the monster. The guy knows the creature hasn't fully evolved, and the night increases its power and fury. So he lunges forward to attack, because he needs to stop the creature or everyone in the building will be killed. Using his strength, the MC manages to grab the creature with his energy-filled hand. With surprising strength, the guy bites the bizarre creature without showing any fear. Holding the monster firmly, his golden eyes shine with a cold determination. Then the young man spins the creature in the air and realizes its weak point is its tail. Seizing the opportunity, he grabs the beast's tail with all his might. The hero hurls the monster against the window, which shatters from the impact. With his fist glowing gold, he prepares to deliver a powerful blow. The guy unleashes a beam of energy that hits the creature dead-on in midair. The monster is then completely swallowed by the intense golden beam of light from the attack. But the bizarre creature grabs the golden energy with its claws and tries to absorb the power. At that, the hero realizes the monster is trying to steal his young power and counters the attack. He thinks the power of the sun is too strong, and that the rabbit is just digging its own grave. Shortly after, a golden explosion engulfs the monster, which can't contain so much energy. In the next building over, a couple wakes up from the noise, and the man wonders if it was thunder. He then goes to the window to check but finds nothing out of the ordinary outside. Our hero lands on the floor, surrounded by remnants of his golden energy. The young man reflects that the thing was like a starving ghost trying to devour his power. After the fight, the monster's eye falls to the floor, releasing a weird black smoke. With a serious look, he stares at the remains of the creature he just defeated. Without a second thought, the guy stomps hard on the eye, crushing what's left of the beast. He understands that the creature of the night was desperate for his opposing yang-type power. The young man imagines that if he were normal, the monster would have easily devoured everyone in the building. With that in mind, he knows he needs to collect more techniques to face the dangers of the future. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl leaps through the air against the moonlight. Looking like a hunter with incredible speed, the young woman runs down the side of a building at high velocity. Arriving at the scene, the mysterious hunter's eyes go wide with shock. Standing there in the middle of the night, she wonders if her target was defeated by someone else. Kneeling on the ground, she comments that the target has been destroyed and that she'll try to recover the night attribute. But as she touches the monster's remains, she's surprised by a golden energy that was still there. The young woman then feels an intense heat and a scorching aura that makes her recoil immediately. She remembers the energy from the university gate and understands that this is no coincidence. Faced with this discovery, the girl activates her communicator with a serious and determined look. She informs Base that the target was eliminated by a new and powerful forerunner with a high-level attribute. Over the communicator, a voice questions if the gate purification and the rabbit were the work of the same individual. A man confirms that there are no records of this person in the database and that the association needs to recruit him. The silver-haired girl agrees with the association's plan. Then she carefully stores the small flame of energy in an object attached to her clothing. Her superior orders her to pause her current missions to prioritize tracking the new forerunner. At that, the mysterious hunter calmly begins to unwrap the lollipop she was holding. The young woman puts the candy in her mouth and says she perfectly understood the new order she received. But before starting the mission, the girl says she first needs some milk tea to relax. Over the communicator, a voice wonders who this mysterious figure with so much power could be. The young woman agrees that the president was right and that she needs to meet this powerful master. Our hero's day kicks off with the sunrise, and he stretches, ready to train. He knows waking up early helps his cultivation, so he gets ready for another session. The fighter activates his breathing technique, soaking up the golden morning energy. His eyes glow intensely with golden power as the energy fills him up. He enters the Ghost Axe realm and feels the technique's aura manifest. A sudden burst of energy catches him by surprise, and he realizes he's having another breakthrough. Power rushes through his body, and he focuses to control this sudden surge. He clenches his fist tightly, feeling the energy condensed in his hand. Now, he materializes his key axe and notices the weapon feels way lighter. His hands firmly grip the weapon's hilt, ready to test his new power. The warrior raises the golden axe over his head, prepping a devastating blow. He advances to the 2-star Ghost Axe realm, unleashing his strength. His eyes now burn with golden flames, reflecting his newfound power. The main character's body feels much stronger and tougher after this evolution. Progress was lightning fast since he used the leftover energy from his last breakthrough. Our hero decides that from now on, he'll take his leveling up slow and steady, one step at a time. But his cultivation draws a ton of attention, so he needs a more discreet spot. In the association's office, a man senses a disturbance in the air. He notices the fluctuation in solar energy and wonders if it's the newbie again. Our guy finds an isolated spot near a river to get on with his plans. A system screen pops up, and he confirms he's going to imbue his weapon with an attribute. He remembers trying this with another item, but the object couldn't handle the power. This time, the new blade resonates with his energy, creating a powerful connection. The item encoding is a success, confirmed by a system notification. Hyped up by his new weapon, he gets ready to test its incredible power right now. The result of the test leaves him completely floored by the sheer power unleashed by the sword. A massive golden beam of light shoots out from the blade at full force into the sky. The warrior lands with his sword in flames, feeling the power flow through his body. He almost starts a wildfire with that swing and realizes just how dangerous his strength is. The smoke from the attack is huge, so he knows he's been spotted and needs to bounce. A girl is furiously running towards the smoke he left behind. She grumbles that she stepped out for a second and ended up missing all the action. Suddenly, the young woman stops, noticing that the river is literally boiling. The agent hovers over the damage, wondering what the heck the newbie did to the place. She can already picture the chewing out she's going to get, since everything's gone sideways ever since he showed up. Just then, a golden glint in the distance catches her eye, and she gets curious. The hunter is in total shock at what she's sensing. This shouldn't even be possible. His aura jumped from 1 star to 2 star, and he even created a spirit weapon. The association only has 2 of those weapons, and the tech to create them is incomplete. The girl gets suspicious, wondering how he managed to get this kind of power all on his own. But she figures she must be mistaken and decides to start cleaning up the mess he made. Far away, our hero thinks about how his weapon now has the yang attribute, but he wants more. The system can encode anything, so he plans on adding more attributes to the blade. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with a message from an unknown user. He completely forgot about privacy, and now some stranger is inviting him to a pioneers group. He's shocked to learn that official recruits have to be at least Ghost Axe realm level. The stranger mentions a new pollution zone and invites him to a group hunt. He asks for the location, and the stranger sends a file about the lava dragon of the Shadow River. The zone has lava and the same yang attribute he has, so the guy decides to accept the invitation. Far away in the Binmu district, a group is waiting for old Lee's friend to show up. One of the members says the girl's map was so detailed, he got there in no time. The blonde girl thanks everyone for coming and reminds them they need to work as a team. She's from the Cultivation Association and is bummed that none of the pioneers here are very promising. What many don't know is that the Cultivation Association is a government agency. Getting into the agency was tough and cost her family some favors, so she hates to fail. Just then, one of the explorers sees the newbie arriving and calls him by his name, Feng. Our protagonist makes an imposing entrance with his new sword and introduces himself to the group. The agent is startled by his power but notices his aura isn't oppressive, but warm. Since the team is all here, the leader gives the signal, and they head towards the cave entrance. Our guy decides to take the lead and asks the blonde agent to handle the lighting. The group walks through the cave, and one of them warns Feng about the loose rocks. They find it strange that the place isn't that hot yet. Our guy reflects on how quickly the team accepted him and feels that their friendship is genuine in these tough times. Our hero keeps moving forward, and the ground beneath his feet starts to change color, signaling imminent danger. Suddenly, they reach a massive chasm and are stunned to see a river of boiling lava right in front of them. Without a second thought, Feng rushes towards the danger, and the blonde agent yells at him not to be so reckless. To everyone's shock, the warrior plunges his sword straight into the lava, and the explorers panic, screaming for help. A fiery explosion throws the team backward, and our guy's system detects a worldwide anomaly and starts analyzing the data. And Feng Yi's system detects a worldwide problem and starts to analyze the information. As he plunged his sword into the lava, Feng Yi's system analyzed the anomaly, revealing a new power, the inner flame with an extremely high internal temperature and explosive properties, and the scarlet flame sword technique, which unleashed its power when the blade was drawn, coating it in fire and lightning. Resolved, Feng Yi gripped his sword. His eyes in the blade glowed with fiery power, a perfect technique for his Tang sword. Below, the other explorers, thrown back by a previous explosion, watched in amazement as Feng Yi stood unharmed in a vortex of fire, realizing his weapon was absorbing the lava's power. Feng Yi then used his script points to permanently embed the scarlet flame attribute into his sword, which now burned with energy. When the flames subsided, his teammates concluded he had suffered a small cultivation accident and had recovered. The group was euphoric, noticing the cave's spiritual energy had stabilized. One of them celebrated being able to absorb it smoothly, while another, on the verge of beginning his cultivation path, excitedly shouted Xiaoya's name. The blonde agent, Xiaoya, encouraged them to train while she kept watch, and the team thanked her for the opportunity. The peace was interrupted when Xiaoya detected figures approaching the entrance, warning that other pioneers were arriving. 3 muscular men entered, led by one with an eye patch and glowing red eyes, who arrogantly declared the resource-rich land was now theirs. Xiaoya grew worried, recognizing all 3 newcomers were at the 1-star Ghost Axe realm, a level her team couldn't challenge. Despite the danger, Xiaoya tried to reason with them, politely stating they had arrived first and even offering to let them join. Her diplomacy was met with contempt. The eye patch-wearing leader mocked her low level and ordered them to get lost or face the consequences. Xiaoya's expression hardened. She reflected on the harsh reality of survival of the fittest in this new era, but as a member of the Xia Nations Association, she decided she couldn't allow this injustice. Just as the confrontation was about to escalate, Fang Yi stepped between Xiaoya and the hostile leader. With his sword ignited, he coldly asked the large man if he had nothing better to do than bully a young woman. The eye-patch-wearing leader was left stunned and speechless. Without hesitation, Fang Yi unleashed a single, devastating swing that created a fiery explosion, sending the three aggressors flying. The force of the attack startled Fang Yi's own teammates from their meditation. He remembered the tragedies caused by those who followed the survival of the fittest principle, knowing only overwhelming force would work on such people. To make his point, Fang Yi drove his blade into the ground in front of the rival leader. Surrounded by an immense golden aura, he coldly ordered them to scram. Terrified by this second display of power, the leader called Fang Yi a monster and screamed for his men to run as Fang Yi watched them flee. His teammates rushed over, buzzing with excitement over his incredible power. Fang Yi smiled, brushing it off and suggesting it was time to leave. As they left, Xiaoya contemplated the immense power Fang Yi had shown, realizing he had held back. Convinced he was a top-tier pioneer, she knew she had to report this major discovery to her organization immediately. The scene shifts to the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association office, where a woman on the phone with Xiaoya repeated in surprise that another high-attribute pioneer had appeared. The office worker grew flustered, realizing she had said too much, especially with an imposing man standing behind her. She awkwardly hung up after confirming the report. The young woman cheerfully asked her gray-haired superior if they were lucky enough to have two high-attribute pioneers in a row. He, however, grimly corrected her that luck had nothing to do with it, explaining that every high-attribute individual is destined to become a new center of power, a responsibility that stressed him immensely. Under a sunny sky, Fang Yi returned to the city. He tried to disguise himself as a cosplayer, but his powerful presence and authentic sword only drew more attention. His walk was interrupted when he saw on his phone that news of the cave incident had already gone viral. He chided himself for his carelessness, knowing the eruption of his internal flame was too noticeable. Dismissing the idea that his teammates would betray him, he focused on a more urgent matter. The massive yang energy he had absorbed was pushing him toward a new breakthrough. He needed to find a secluded place immediately and headed for the back mountain. 5 minutes later, on that same mountain, a silver-haired young woman named Su Qingying, a garden restoration expert, felt a sudden, powerful presence. She saw an intense burst of light, like a miniature sun, and recognized the signs of a cultivator breaking through to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. The scale of the energy astounded her. She'd never imagined a breakthrough of that realm could be so monstrous. Driven by a sense of duty and a flash of recognition, she raced toward the disturbance, vowing to catch the mysterious individual this time. High on the mountain, Fang Yi was focused on his breakthrough. He pulled in huge amounts of golden energy, which spun around him before forming a bright, sun-like ball above his head. As he meditated in the air, the power behind him formed a complex, star-shaped divine shape. Golden energy sparked across his skin and his eyes glowed with great power as he tried to control the wild energy. Finally, the power came together, taking the shape of a giant divine axe, made of pure golden and light blue energy, crackling with power. Meanwhile, Su Qingying arrived and stopped suddenly when she saw the amazing sight. She watched in total disbelief, seeing that the mysterious person was about to swing the divine axe he had just created. His level of control was incredible. She wondered how anyone could command so much spiritual energy with such perfect skill and steadiness, asking herself if this man had secretly been training for centuries. The sight brought back a painful memory. Su Qingying remembered her own attempt to break through to the Ghost Axe 2-star level. The pressure from her own divine axe had been too much for her, pushing back and making her cough up blood. It left her stuck in bed for a full week. She was naturally strong, but she had still failed badly. She couldn't understand how this monster could handle a breakthrough that was so much more powerful than hers. As she ran closer, she was even more amazed. The huge amount of spiritual energy, the perfect control in every move of the axe, and the way every bit of power seemed to have been purified thousands of times, it was all beyond anything she had ever seen. She decided that this person wasn't just an amazing monster, he was like a god who had come down from the sky. She also noticed his calm and steady way of doing things. Most pioneers, when they felt a breakthrough was about to happen, would rush to get it done. This person, however, moved with a deep sense of experience and a strong mind, like a master from old times. Her thoughts were stopped when the giant, fiery divine axe began to move. She watched the awesome sight as it swung with a purpose, heading east. At the peak of his power, Fang Yi's eyes burned with pure golden light as cracks of raw energy spread across his face. He floated inside a blinding storm of golden power, successfully controlling the huge amount of energy he had gathered to evolve. A system window then appeared, officially confirming he had succeeded. He had reached the Ghost Axe realm, 2-star. The new divine axe slammed down into the earth, releasing all of its power in one huge shockwave that tore across the mountain. Su Qingying was caught in the powerful blast and had to hold herself steady against the wave of golden energy. The leftover force cut a huge path through the forest before fading away, but when she looked up, the mysterious man had completely disappeared. Breathing hard from the effort and her frustration, Su Qingying couldn't believe she had missed him again, especially since she had arrived in only 30 seconds. A worrying thought came to her. He must have known that she was tracking him. She worried that if he stayed this hard to find, her mission to recruit him would be impossible. Just as she was about to give up, she paused. A sudden idea hit her. She looked away from the path of destruction and toward a giant old tree that was now glowing with a soft, leftover golden light. With a new feeling of certainty, she called out into the woods that seemed empty, calling him senior and asking if he was still in the area. From the shadows of the forest, Fang Yi appeared, his hooded body giving off a cool confidence. His glowing red eyes were on Su Qingying. He immediately knew she was the person who had been looking into him for the past few days. Seeing she had been found, Su Qingying stood her ground and properly introduced herself. She said she was the captain of the Firefly Squad, a part of the Spiritual Practitioners Association of Xiao Nation and also one of the nation's first pioneers. On behalf of the association, she sincerely invited him to join them. She admitted she had been following him for 2 days and hoped her methods hadn't made him think badly of her. As she spoke, Fang Yi stayed quiet and his face was hard to read under his hood. Su Qingying added that while the public didn't know yet, all the official papers for the association were ready. Inside, however, she was very nervous, choosing her words carefully and worrying if she was bothering him or making the powerful man angry. She knew she had to sound soft and respectful. Her carefully planned speech was cut short by Fang Yi's simple, direct question. "Why should I join?" The direct question surprised her completely. She stuttered for a moment, panicking over what to say. She quickly saw that empty, nice words would be useless against someone so smart. The truth was her only choice. Pulling herself together, she explained what the association was for. She told him that the Xiao Nation wanted to gather and unite all the early pioneers, to guide them on an organized path and also give them extra protection. She knew that growth was messy right now and that an association might feel like a cage to a free spirit like him. But she asked him to look at the bigger picture. A great return of spiritual energy was coming, and they would all need to stand together to face the unknown enemies of the future. After listening to her passionate speech, Fang Yi leaned casually against a tree, looking tired and uninterested. He told her plainly that he was not willing to join. He explained that, for now, he still couldn't bring himself to fully trust her or the association she represented. Su Qingying was left completely stunned and speechless by his direct refusal, her eyes wide with shock. Facing his refusal, Su Qingying grew desperate. She quickly pulled out her identification card from her jacket. Holding it up for him to see, she quickly introduced herself again as Su Qingying and mentioned she used to be a well-known athlete before the spiritual energy returned. She begged him to believe her, hoping her public identity would give him a reason to trust her. Fang Yi paused and thought about her words. He touched his chin thoughtfully, saying that he now vaguely remembered her. His mind remembered a framed picture of her celebrating a victory as the runner-up in the Sia Nation's long-distance championship. He realized her natural athletic skill was what made her such a fast and good pioneer. However, his face then became hard. A dark memory from his previous life came to mind, showing a vision of a ruined city. He knew that in his original timeline, the Sia Nation's work, including the association, had failed in the end, leading to the end of humanity. Now that he had returned with his system, he knew he had to be part of the solution, but joining the association at this point was not the right move. Putting on a more thoughtful look, he looked back at a hopeful Su Qingying and confirmed that he did remember her. He told her he would think about her offer, and before she could answer, he jumped into the air and sped away from the spot. Just as quickly, he reappeared right behind a startled Su Qingying. He gave her a firm condition. She must keep his location a secret from everyone for now. In his mind, he studied her respectful behavior and guessed that the association was careful about upsetting powerful pioneers who weren't with them. He saw this as a weakness he could use. Su Qingying suggested a deal. She explained that the association had detected the energy from his breakthrough and that she had to file a report. She suggested sending a report that was a mix of truth and lies to protect his identity while keeping her bosses happy. After a moment of thought, Fang Yi agreed to her plan. Su Qingying tried to call out to Fang Yi as he agreed to her plan, but in the blink of an eye, he was gone. She ran down the mountain slope after him, but it was no use. Tired and annoyed, she walked alone on a forest path, muttering in frustration about how many times she had failed to catch him and how he was now trying to avoid her. She sighed, complaining about the tiring work of erasing the powerful energy signs he left behind after every incident. Her thoughts were cut short by a voice in her earpiece, telling her to stop worrying about the hard-to-find pioneer and remember the mission she was on. The voice seriously told her that the strange creatures had appeared again. Su Qingying froze, her eyes wide with shock as she asked if they were really back. A scary memory flooded her mind, showing her surrounded by a crowd of terrifying wolf-like creatures with bloody mouths and glowing red eyes. She thought to herself that she would never forget those strange, bloody beasts. The story explained what they were. Cold, evil, and bloodthirsty monsters, born from the pollution zones made by the spiritual energies return. They got power from these zones, turning into monsters that ate humans. Some could even hide as natural disasters, killing anyone as they split up lands and made new pollution zones. If they weren't stopped, their very destructive nature would let them keep eating the human world until nothing was left. A heavy storm suddenly hit the city. The night sky wasn't lit by streetlights, but by constant violent flashes of lightning. Rain poured down, and red alerts lit up people's phones, warning of the severe thunderstorm and telling everyone to stay inside. Another alert announced that the Yuhuang mountain area was closed because of flooding risks. From their windows, people commented they hadn't seen a storm this bad in years, with some joking that a powerful being might be facing a lightning trial nearby. Hidden in a rainy alley, Fang Yi watched the storm grimly, his red eye glowing. He could feel the huge amount of lightning energy in the air, recognizing its wild power. He knew this was no ordinary storm but another anomaly, with its power focused on a single point. His eyes scanned past the city buildings and locked onto a distant mountain peak that was being hit by lightning again and again. He had found the center of the storm. Without hesitating, Fang Yi raced into the downpour, leaping across rooftops as he sped toward the mountain. When Fang Yi reached the base of Yuhuang Mountain, his system immediately confirmed a pollution zone was detected. He looked up at the peak, but instead of its usual beauty, he saw a grim scene with skeletal remains scattered among twisted trees. Another system notice added to the danger, stating the pollution level was unknown. Still, Fang Yi moved forward without hesitating, walking into the dark, stormy woods with a determined look. As he got closer to the center of the storm, he saw a massive bolt of blue lightning strike the mountain's summit, lighting up the whole area. He had found his target. Inside the Spiritual Practitioners Association's command center, officials held a tense meeting. A large screen showed a vortex of blue energy over a mountain peak. An official reported that the danger on Mount Yuhuan was rising quickly, so they had to close it off and call it a new contamination zone. The grim-faced association leader said the situation was so critical, he had to pull Su Qingying from another important mission. He asked her to report on what was going on. Su Qingying told the officials that it was currently impossible to climb the mountain, as the unstable thunder energy was about to explode. Because of this, the area was officially classified as an A-level contamination zone. She continued with more worrying news. Based on how fast the energy was growing, the mountain would soon be an S-level threat, which would start their highest emergency plan. But she pointed out a major problem. Based on their data, no explorer they had could safely get near the area, admitting that not even she could handle it. A wave of shock as calculations showed the mission would mean certain death even for highly advanced explorers. Facing this impossible situation, a man in a security uniform ordered the foot of Mount Yuhuang to be completely sealed off, with patrols sent out 24/7 to stop anyone from trying to climb it. The association leader firmly agreed. He declared they had to stop the threat by sealing the mountain and that no one could go near it until the energy concentration dropped. While the association thought Mount Yuhuang was too dangerous, Fang Yi was already deep inside the zone. Huge bolts of blue lightning crashed down around him. As the storm raged, Fang Yi stood firm, protected by a golden aura from his breathing technique. He knew, however, that just surviving the storm wasn't enough. To get the purest thunder energy, he had to climb to the center of the storm at the mountain's peak. His decision was fueled by dark memories of the past. He knew that the creatures they faced now were just the beginning, and even more terrifying monsters would appear in the future. He realized that his current fire-based powers were not enough for the challenges to come. He had to become stronger himself, not just rely on his weapon. Surrounded by the lightning, Fang Yi saw a rare and perfect opportunity to use the thunder energy to strengthen his own body. Fang Yi knew if he didn't take this chance to get stronger, he would face certain death from the disasters to come. His eyes glowing gold, he drew his flaming sword and, with a defiant roar, plunged it directly into a massive bolt of blue lightning. The wild energy surged through him, causing terrible pain, but his face remained determined. His body shook violently as the electricity coursed through him. He realized this thunder power was like a divine punishment, actively fighting against him. The storm was furious that he had entered its territory and seemed to demand that he give up. Staring at the chaotic sky, he wondered how he could possibly make such a raw force obey him. Then, he had an idea. He calmed himself and remembered his system's rule. To get a power, he had to touch the energy source. A golden aura exploded from him as he unleashed his golden sun breathing technique, determined to fight through the storm. With a loud roar, Fang Yi pushed forward, using his flaming sword to cut a path through the storm of blue lightning. The clash of his golden energy against the raw storm created a huge, chaotic explosion. Blood trickled from his mouth from the strain, but his eyes burned with determination. He knew this was a desperate gamble where he had to push himself to his limit, facing death in order to live. Finally, after a hard struggle, he reached the peak. He plunged his sword into the ground, cracking the rock as he arrived at the center of the storm. Here, the power was even more terrifying, a violent flood of thunder energy that made it hard to even breathe. He felt the storm's full attention on him and realized it no longer just wanted to push him away, it wanted to kill him. As if to prove it, the storm gathered its full power and shot a single, massive beam of white-hot lightning directly at him, an attack meant to completely destroy him. As Fang Yi faced the storm's final attack, his system activated, detecting a powerful thunder attribute and starting to process it. Far below in the city, people watched from a tall building, amazed. One man taking a photo had never seen lightning so big. Another wondered if a god was going through a trial, even thinking he saw a person in the sky. At the mountain's peak, the fight ended in a brilliant explosion. Fang Yi had won. A system message confirmed it, announcing he had obtained refined divine thunder power and could now summon heavenly lightning to make his body godlike. He was rewarded with 5 writing points. Fang Yi now floated in the air, surrounded by blue lightning and his golden aura. He understood his new power. The thunder attribute was a top-tier force for both attack and defense. Unlike his sun power, which was mostly for defense, the thunder could refine his body and turn it into intense energy. He decided that the thunder was now his spear and his shield. He also realized the power wasn't just about destruction, it was also about purification and rebirth. He could feel the energy strengthening his bones and muscles without any pain. The system then offered him an upgrade to punish evil, which would grant him double critical damage, asking if he wanted to use writing points to get it. Landing softly, Fang Yi thought about what to do next. His first thought was to put this new thunder power into his Tang sword. He considered it carefully. While it would make the blade stronger, he worried it might mess with the purity of the sun attribute already in it. He also knew that putting too many different powers into one item could damage or even destroy it. Suddenly, he had a brilliant idea. Looking at his hand, he decided to do something different. He would implant the thunder attribute directly into his right hand. The system immediately responded, asking if he wanted to put the thunder attribute into the chosen item. A confident smirk appeared on his face as he gave the command. Instantly, all the wild blue lightning in the air rushed into his right hand as he claimed the storm's power for himself. The next day on the storm-damaged peak of Mount Yuwang, the immediate danger was gone. Below a cliff, Su Qingying and an army officer named Major Han Li stood over numerous figures in body bags. Su Qingying reported that the contamination zone's energy had strangely dropped from its most dangerous level to a mild level in just 3 hours, though some electricity was still in the air. Major Han Li listened and immediately figured out what had happened. Someone had been there. It was a seeker, a person who actively looks for these dangerous events. Su Qingying was shocked, wondering if another seeker was involved and if they could have survived. She knelt and looked for clues but couldn't sense anything, guessing that the heavy rain had washed away any evidence. She concluded that the seeker must have left the mountains safely around 8 p.m. the night before. Major Han Li agreed with her timeline. The strange event began around 6 p.m. and the army sealed the mountain at 7 p.m., so the seeker must have climbed the mountain before it was closed. He noted that their instruments predicted the danger would reach grade S, but after 8 p.m. the energy suddenly dropped. Standing where the lightning had been strongest, the major added his own theory. He believed the seeker not only survived the lightning but probably had a thunder-related power, turning the disaster into a great opportunity. He concluded this person was the direct cause of the sudden change. The major then shared his biggest worry. People like this were the most dangerous because they didn't know whose side they were on. Su Qingying agreed, adding that if such a powerful person was a threat, the disaster they could cause would be huge. They had to be found quickly. Miles away, sitting on his couch and unaware of the military operation now focused on him, Feng Yi let out a sudden, loud sneeze. Back on the mountain, Major Han Li made his decision. He gave a firm order to his troops. Find this person immediately, at any cost. As his command was given, he assigned the mysterious target his temporary code name, the Tyrant. The investigation on Yuhuang Mountain started right away. The army hoped the Spiritual Practitioners Association could recruit the mysterious person codenamed Tyrant soon. In the meantime, they would keep all information about the event secret and start their own investigation. On the rainy peak, the association leader told Major Hanli that they already had a high-level pioneer trying to make contact. He then turned to Su Qingying and ordered her to give her report to the major. Su Qingying was caught off guard by the order and gasped in panic. Forced to think fast, she began her half-true report. She connected the current incident to the pioneer who had recently cleared the pollution zone at a local university. Inside, she was panicking, terrified she would say something wrong and reveal her deal with Fang Yi. She explained that she had been trying to contact him, but he was hard to find. She mentioned finding the body of a mutated rabbit he had killed and correctly identified his young flame attribute from the evidence. She finished by promising to do her best to get close to him and find out how he had cleared the university's gate. She silently prayed for help, knowing that mixing truth with lies was her only way to make her story sound real. Major Hanli listened closely, thinking about what a pioneer with a young flame attribute meant. He seemed happy with her report and thanked her for her hard work, calling her a talented young pioneer. Su Qingying gave a sharp salute and replied that it was her duty. With the meeting over, Major Hanli mentioned they would release fake news about natural disasters to hide the event from the public. He also said he disagreed with posting spiritual energy information online where bad people could use it. As the officials talked, Su Qingying quietly sighed, relieved that the tough questioning was finally over. Back at his home, Fang Yi used his golden sun breathing technique to easily dry his white hoodie, making it glow with a warm light before holding it up, perfectly clean and dry. After putting it on, he checked the changes in his body. Even after adding the powerful thunder attribute, he could still feel a clear difference. He looked down at his right hand, which now sparked with blue lightning. It had completely changed, becoming the strongest part of his body and getting a huge boost. As he flexed his fingers, making small balls of lightning appear, he could feel that he was close to another upgrade. What surprised him most was how the once wild thunder attribute had become as calm as a kitten after being added to his body, letting him control it freely. He compared this to the terrible pain he felt when he first unlocked the yang attribute and wondered if the energies got weaker during the process. Remembering the system told him this new power dealt double damage to strange and evil creatures, he was eager to test it. His thoughts were broken by a sudden alert from his phone on a nearby table. He picked it up, wondering what was happening now. He had set up special news alerts after the last incident, knowing that in these crazy times, the government would issue warnings to protect people. For a pioneer like him, however, these warnings were more than just notices of danger. In every crisis, there was a chance to grow stronger, even if it meant risking his life. As Fang Yi thought about what to do next, he looked at the major news alert on his phone. The report said a huge explosion had just happened inside a chemical plant, causing a lot of pollution in the city. The official story said no one was hurt and told people to stay calm, but Fang Yi was suspicious of an event this big. He checked online forums, where people who saw it happen gave a much scarier story. People who lived nearby described a super creepy feeling they couldn't explain. One person asked if it was a cold, evil aura, and another quickly agreed. While many were doubtful, the overall feeling was one of dread and fear. The words cold and evil aura felt familiar to Fang Yi. Suddenly, a terrifying memory from his past life came back. A bloody hand and a horrible monster. He remembered hiding in fear from a giant, red, demonic beast as it destroyed everything around it. The creature, a gross, multi-eyed, rat-like monster, was a threat he knew too well. Back in the present, he looked serious. He remembered the nature of these creatures. They were plants or animals that changed in a strange way after becoming self-aware, their power going wild and giving them terrifying hunting and killing abilities. They loved to appear in the dark of night. Realizing this new threat was 100 times more dangerous than the mutated rabbit he had fought before, Fang Yi knew he had to do something. Clenching his fist, which sparked with his new blue lightning, he decided he would go out that night to stop these creatures from surviving and getting stronger. Standing up, he was surrounded by blue electrical energy. It was time, he decided, to test his new 200% critical hit ability in a real fight. On a dark and stormy night, rain fell on the empty city streets. As a traffic light changed, a blur of motion sped across the wet road, a squad of cloaked figures moving with amazing speed. These were the members of the Destroyer Squad, and they were hunting. One member reported to their headquarters that they were tracking anomaly file number 7, codenamed Candle Knight, but had lost the target. The creature's known ability was to blend into the darkness, making it very hard to follow. The squad member added new, scary details to the file. The anomaly made a faint sizzling sound when it was close, and liked to eat humans. As lightning lit up the sky, the squad landed on a rooftop to look over the city. Their leader, a determined man with light hair and a scar on his face, knew the stormy weather was perfect for the creature's hunt. He said with grim certainty that they could not let that happen. Miles away, in a busy command center, an operator got the updated information. He confirmed the new data for File 7. Candle Night had been submitted. The situation was serious. An extermination request was filed as a high priority, with a goal to solve it in 12 hours. The order came back from headquarters. The destroyer squad was to keep chasing the target, but their own safety was most important. The team immediately started the chase again, leaping from building to building through the rainy city. The squad leader paused, looking at a glowing, holographic map of the city full of red markers showing active anomalies. He knew that a 12-hour response time wasn't fast, but it was the best headquarters could do. The country was large, and with anomalies appearing everywhere, even their advanced resources were stretched thin. Just as the destroyer squad got close to their target's last known location, a warning came from their headquarters. The operator told them that the area they were entering was currently occupied by Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association agents. A photo of Su Qinging appeared on the screen, as the operator explained that her team was watching pioneers there, and could be asked to help. The destroyer squad's leader acknowledged the message, and asked headquarters to have her come help, saying he had heard of her good work. Elsewhere, Su Qinging was surprised to learn she had become so famous. The destroyer squad waited grimly in the rain. Soon, Su Qinging and her own cloaked team arrived, taking a spot on a higher rooftop. With a hand on her hip, she looked down at the squad below, and casually asked if they were the ones calling her for overtime. The destroyer squad's leader was not happy with her casual tone. He sternly told her that the Candle Night anomaly eats people, and that this was much more serious than a simple overtime request. One of Su Qinging's team members shot back, asking if that was the right way to ask for help. Su Qinging then turned to leave, saying that the destroyer squad seemed so good, they probably didn't need help after all. She announced that her team, the Ying squad, would be leaving. As they started to go, her team members muttered among themselves, one worrying about their boss's savage attitude, and another defending her, saying their own missions were just as dangerous. The leader of the destroyer squad immediately panicked and called for her to wait. He apologized for his harsh tone and begged for her help. He explained just how dangerous Candle Night was, and that without her famous tracking skills, they would be at a great disadvantage. He stressed that if his team failed, the people of the city would be the ones to suffer, as the monster would kill them all. After agreeing to work together, the two teams stood on a rainy rooftop, ready to hunt. Su Qinging concentrated, and a glowing blue ball of energy appeared in her hand. She announced she had found the creature. The orb's energy expanded, showing the monster's location. Hidden in the dark, wet ruins of a chemical plant, the monstrous, multi-eyed rat-like creature called Candle Night was eating something. Its file noted that it liked darkness, dampness, and eating people. With the target found, Su Qinging gave the command for the joint operation to start. The creature's senses were sharp, and it instantly looked up, aware of their presence. It jumped away, just as an attack hit the ground where it had been. A member of the destroyer squad said the target had spotted them and ordered the team to form up. The squad members moved with incredible speed, their cloaks blurring as they chased it. They surrounded the creature from all sides, and with their prey trapped, they shouted together, ready to attack. One of the destroyer squad members lunged forward, shouting the order to attack. He hit the creature hard, sending it crashing into a pile of rubble. But instead of being weaker, the monster's body began to change, its back erupting with red sores and black spikes. With a furious shriek, the enraged Candle Night fought back, creating a vortex of dark energy. Su Qinging desperately shouted for the teams to watch out for the sound wave and dodge. Her warning was a moment too late. A powerful sonic blast erupted from the creature, sending the squad members flying back. The destroyer squad's leader was thrown from the rooftop, crashing onto the street below. One of his team members rushed to his side. The leader pushed himself up, bruised but alive. He admitted that if he hadn't moved back at the last second, his bones would have been broken. He knew they were in grave danger. If the creature stayed in the city any longer, it would cause a huge disaster. The battle took another turn as Candle Night continued to change. It grew large, bat-like wings and let out a roar, its throat glowing with green energy. It then spewed a corrosive, dark substance that filled the air with toxic green smoke. The creature aimed this blast at the ground, trying to melt the street to burrow underground and escape. One of Su Qinging's team members warned her that the monster had a corrosive, dark power and that anything it touched would be destroyed. She explained that their team didn't have a power strong enough to fight it. Su Qinging, however, stayed calm. She ordered her team to stay alert and not to mess up the destroyer squad's formation, reminding them their main job was to gather information and help with strategy. Meanwhile, a destroyer squad member with a dagger prepared to strike the escaping creature. Suddenly, a pair of menacing red eyes glowed from the darkness. The winged Candle Night lunged forward, narrowly dodging an attack from a leaping squad member. Enraged, the destroyer squad leader yelled at his team not to let the monster escape. The winged creature flew through the city streets, chased by the cloaked members of the Ying squad. From a high rooftop, Su Qingying and two of her team members watched. Suddenly, she sensed a sharp increase in spiritual energy from the creature's direction. Realizing something important was about to happen, she ordered her team to stay outside while she followed it in by herself. The chase led them to a large, dark, abandoned factory. Inside, Su Qingying said she would scan the area's spiritual energy. The destroyer squad's leader noticed the advanced watch on her wrist. She confirmed it was a new device from the association, explaining that the watch showed the energy level a squad could safely handle was 50. Candle Knight's reading had been just 48. Suddenly, the device on her wrist began to flash wildly, the reading shooting past 80. Su Qingying shouted that the energy levels were going crazy. At that moment, a massive, shadowy form with glowing green eyes appeared in the rafters above. They had been led into a trap. Su Qingying realized with horror that there was more than one creature in the factory. The shadowy, monstrous face of a new creature loomed behind them. The destroyer squad's leader panicked, yelling that they needed to retreat immediately. Taking charge, Su Qingying suggested a tactical retreat toward the main door to force the hidden enemy to show itself. She fired a blast of energy to clear a path, shouting for her team to follow. But before they could escape, she cried out in pain and collapsed. Her senses overwhelmed by an invisible poison gas. Su Qingying suddenly found herself alone in the vast, green darkness of the factory. She called out to her team, but no one answered. She knew they were nearby, but the poison had made them unable to sense her. Putting the pieces together, she realized the full trap. Candle Knight had led them to this factory, which was the territory of a much more powerful creature, a giant serpent she had only faintly sensed earlier. As if summoned by her thoughts, the huge, armored head of a shadowy serpent with glowing green eyes loomed over her. She now understood that unlike Candle Knight's simple dark power, this creature's black mist was a strong poison, and they had been breathing it in since they arrived. The gas worked silently, paralyzing its victims while draining their spiritual energy. Fighting back would only use up their power faster, leading to certain death. She could feel her own spiritual energy was almost gone, and without it, she knew she would soon be another victim. As she collapsed to the floor, her strength gone, she despaired at the terrifying intelligence of a creature that was just playing with them. She closed her eyes, wondering if this was the end. Lying defeated on the factory floor, Su Qingying saw a single ray of light cut through the green darkness above. A flicker of hope appeared in her eyes. Suddenly, the factory's ceiling exploded inward, and a blinding light filled the room. Her eyes widened as a figure came down from the blast. It was Fang Yi. He landed gracefully in the rubble, his hooded figure standing out against the glowing hole in the ceiling. He stood before the giant serpent, immediately identifying it as a dark attribute creature. Without warning, the serpent lunged, its massive fangs aimed at him. At the same time, the Candle Knight monster burst from the shadows, attacking from behind. Fang Yi dodged the serpent's attack, and came face to face with the growling rat-like beast. As the two creatures closed in, he finally understood the full trap he had walked into. In a shocking move, Fang Yi let the Candle Knight monster bite his shoulder. As blood splattered, he noted their surprisingly smart tactics. One creature for luring prey, the other for killing them. He taunted the beast latched onto him, asking if it enjoyed biting people so much. In response, he unleashed his new power. Bright blue lightning erupted from his body as he challenged the monster to taste his thunder property. At the same time, he fired a massive beam of golden solar energy from his free hand, which hit the lunging serpent head-on. Now covered in crackling electricity, and free from the stunned rat creature, Fang Yi turned his full attention to the serpent, unleashing a flood of golden flames, as he challenged it to see how well it could handle fire. The giant serpent lunged with a furious roar, its huge mouth open to eat its prey. With amazing agility, Fang Yi dodged the attack, flipping through the air while swinging his glowing golden sword. As he landed, he coolly told the monster to look at his blade, a clear challenge to the giant beast. The serpent seemed to pull back, cautious of the glowing weapon. Seeing his chance, Fang Yi counterattacked. Leaping through the air, he delivered a powerful slash to the serpent's face, his sword covered in the crackling blue energy of his thunder power. The force of the blow was huge, but the result wasn't what he expected. Instead of crushing its skull, the creature's head split down the middle, revealing a second identical head underneath as if it were shedding its skin. Fang Yi landed on his feet, his eyes wide with surprise at this strange development. The creature's split head then pulled apart completely, shedding its outer layer to reveal its true, healed form. As green energy pulsed in its neck, Fang Yi knew the fight was far from over. The serpent reacted with shock and pain as the leftover thunder energy from Fang Yi's sword ran through its body. It roared in fury as the electrical energy grew stronger, overwhelming its dark power. Watching the creature twist in pain, Fang Yi gave a small, confident smirk. He knew he had the advantage, as he had already sensed the serpent's dark aura was stronger than Candle Knight's. He then revealed his clever plan. When he attacked with his sword, he had held back the full force of his fire. Instead, he had used the blade to carry and channel the thunder power from his hand directly into the snake's body. He compared the two creatures, realizing this serpent was a far more dangerous and evolved monster than Candle Knight. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his shoulder where the rat creature had bitten him. He hissed, looking down to see strange purple snake scales growing from the wound. He understood immediately, just as he'd thought, this was a smart, mutated species. Its poison, delivered by its partner's bite, had a paralyzing effect that let it kill silently. He could feel a sharp pain from the wound, but he also felt his golden sun breathing technique working to fight the venom. With a determined look, he knew he had the perfect counter. The yang flame power could dissolve the poison. The golden sun technique would protect and heal his body, and the thunder power would purify anything left. As the energy from his powers pulsed through him, Fang Yi recognized the benefit of his combined abilities. The mix of his yang flame and thunder powers now gave him a clear pain signal to any poison, acting as an early warning system. He knew he was lucky. For others, the serpent's sneaky poison would have been impossible to cure. He guessed that for the serpent to have grown so large, it must have relied on surprise attacks. He thought of the monster's den, filled with the skulls of its victims. With Candle Knight acting as the perfect bait, the two creatures had become a deadly trap even for top pioneers, which explained why so many had disappeared. But in the end, it didn't matter. As he watched the creature's huge skeleton burn to ash in his holy fire, he knew its reign of terror was over. Standing before the fire, Fang Yi felt satisfied. His inner flame was powerful, but the triple critical hit from his new thunder power had sealed his victory. He felt confident that his fighting skills were now pretty good, even compared to other high-level pioneers. He stood silently for a moment, watching the flames burn the last of the monster. Just as he was about to leave, he paused, reaching out his hand as if he sensed something. His eyes narrowed. He wasn't alone. Someone was still there. He turned just in time to see a figure stumbling out from the smoke, coughing from the ash. It was Su Qingying. She stood silently, covered in soot and clearly tired, but she was alive. As the smoke cleared, Fang Yi found himself looking at the unconscious members of the other squad, with Su Qingying sitting among them. He recognized her as the agent from the association, and coolly told her that there was no need to pretend. He added that her playing dead act needed work, which surprised her. Embarrassed, Su Qingying covered her face. Realizing this was the same powerful pioneer she had been tracking, she tried to make an excuse, claiming she woke up from the smell. Fang Yi, however, wasn't fooled. He complimented her, pointing out that while her teammates were out of energy, she was strong enough to keep a small reserve to protect herself. If she had really been unconscious, he explained, she wouldn't have been able to smell anything. Flustered, Su Qingying could only offer an awkward thank you. In her mind, she was amazed. He had seen right through her. She had indeed kept a bit of spiritual energy for protection. She had no idea how he had beaten both Candle Knight and the giant serpent all by himself. Noticing her embarrassment, Fang Yi's tone softened. He told her she didn't need to cover her eyes, and that he only asked her to be honest with him and keep his identity secret. Seeing she and her team were safe, he said it was getting late and he would be leaving. Su Qingying tried to call out to him, but it was too late. Saying that explaining things would spoil the surprise, he jumped effortlessly through the hole he had made in the factory's ceiling and disappeared into the night. As he traveled across the rooftops, Fang Yi thought about the battle. He was glad Su Qingying hadn't tried to absorb the dark power from the monsters, remembering its disgusting coldness. He wondered why he couldn't absorb it himself. He guessed maybe the dark energy was already gone, or his body had instinctively rejected it. He decided to think about it later, at home. Left alone in the huge, abandoned factory, Su Qingying looked up at the moonlit hole in the ceiling where Fang Yi had disappeared. She sighed, disappointed that she hadn't gotten a good look at his face, and realizing he still didn't trust her or the association. Her quiet moment was short. Acting like a squad leader again, she walked over to the unconscious captain of the destroyer squad and gave him a few slaps, telling him to wake up. The man groaned and slowly opened his eyes, bruised and confused. His first thought was panic, and he shot up, shouting that they had been ambushed. Su Qingying just watched him with a calm look. The leader and his squad members then saw why she was so calm, the massive, smoking skeleton of the giant serpent. They stared in total disbelief, confused by the scene. The leader demanded to know what happened and where the powerful yang energy came from. Su Qingying calmly explained that a powerful pioneer had rescued them. She continued her carefully planned report, explaining that the pioneer was likely the person from her original mission, a very high-level individual with a yang attribute. She let her voice trail off, suggesting his appearance was a lucky coincidence. The other squad members were in complete awe, with one saying it was unbelievable that one person could defeat both monsters. Su Qingying added that she hadn't managed to recruit him yet, and that he had even managed to track her back, which only made him more mysterious. Getting back to their grim job, the destroyer squad leader asked where Candle Knight's body was. As he began using a green energy technique to clean the scene, he said they needed to collect the remains for the association. As the squads began the cleanup, the destroyer squad's leader used a green orb of energy to gather the strange, dark remains left from the battle. As he stepped forward, he accidentally crushed a piece of debris on the floor, which suddenly exploded in a blast of bright blue electrical energy. He jumped back in pain, yelling at the force of the shock as Su Qingying looked on in surprise. This new discovery only made things more mysterious. The remains, which they now realized belonged to Candle Knight, were crackling with leftover electricity. The squad leader turned to Su Qingying, questioning her report. He reminded her she had said the pioneer had a yang attribute, yet this incredibly strong electrical power told a different story. The two leaders knelt to look at the electrically charged body. Su Qingying was stunned by the pure strength of the thunder power left behind, confirming it was a high-tier power. This led the destroyer squad's leader to a new idea. Maybe two high-level pioneers had appeared, one to kill the serpent and another to kill Candle Knight, before leaving together. Su Qingying knew that wasn't right. She struggled with how to explain the unbelievable truth, remembering the image of the lone pioneer holding both crackling blue lightning and roaring golden fire. She knew no one would believe that a single person could have two different top-level powers. Having just one made you a genius. Having two was almost unheard of. The impossible proof was right in front of them. The burning skeleton of the giant serpent was the work of a young flame walker, while the electrified body of Candle Knight was the clear mark of a thunder tyrant. The combined squads could only look on in complete disbelief, wondering what kind of monster this mysterious pioneer really was. After that, the story shifts forward slightly in time. Now, around the factory, several association vehicles had arrived. Seeing them pull up outside, Su Qingying thought to herself, good thing I stationed team members outside the factory. If I stayed inside too long, they would report to the association. Based on the situation, the association sent reconnaissance personnel to the scene. Their original intent was to collect our corpses. Inside the factory, Su Qingying was seated with two of her female teammates holding onto her tightly. One of them looked at her with teary eyes and said emotionally, "Boss, you're alive. I thought I'd lost my captain forever." The second added, "If you had died, what would I have done, boss? Tell me." Su Qingying listened to them silently, thinking to herself with mild irritation. What nonsense are they going on about? At that moment, the association's scanning team had entered the factory. Their primary task had now shifted. They were scanning for residual spiritual energy, analyzing the traces, and reconstructing the battle. These were association reconnaissance personnel, and their duty was to report the outcome back to headquarters. As the scanning team examined the serpent's corpse, one of the personnel turned towards Su Qingying and the senior and said, "Both captains, based on trace comparisons at the scene, whether it's combat habits or kill patterns, it all points to one person who killed both anomalies. There's a 99% probability it's the same individual." Hearing this, the senior standing nearby became serious and said, "It really is a dual high-tier attribute pioneer. I thought we'd made a mistake. But indeed, either of those two anomalies alone could have wiped us out." A teammate standing beside him chimed in, "Exactly. This powerhouse finished them off in a single strike. We're all Ghost Axe Realm too, but the gap is ridiculous." Su Qingying quickly stepped aside to make a call and report the findings to the association. She said, "My surveillance target appeared. The data has updated. I need to report to the higher-ups. These are the results. Tyrant and the North Gate of Qingcheng University both were my assigned targets." On the other end of the line, the association's leader responded after hearing her out. "I understand the situation, Su Qingying. For now, I want you to halt your mission. He saved you, eliminated the anomalies, and secured this entire area. That means he doesn't resent the association, and he's not our enemy. Anyway, old Han and I don't quite see eye to eye on this. For your safety, and to leave a good impression on that tyrant, avoid contacting him for now." Su Qingying responded firmly, "Understood, but I still have one theory, something that happened before, when Tyrant was about to advance at the back mountain." The chief asked, "What do you mean?" She explained, "I once sensed an incredibly strong aura in the area where he was active. I suspected he might have a spiritual weapon, but thought it was unlikely. But now that it's confirmed he's a dual high-tier attribute pioneer, then," hearing this, the chief's tone shifted as he asked seriously, "Does he have a spiritual weapon?" Then he began to reason aloud, "That's unlikely. No matter how gifted he is, there's no way he could possess a spiritual weapon without outside help or resources. Besides, the reconnaissance team found no traces of a third spiritual energy attribute typically associated with a spiritual weapon. Su Qingyin clarified, when I came into contact with him, the spiritual weapon aura I sensed was yang attribute. The chief paused, then said, I see. If the weapon's attribute comes directly from his own yang energy, then if he's a spirit creation realm cultivator, it's theoretically possible to do it solo. Hearing this, Su Qingyin was shocked and thought, spirit creation realm? Even globally, cultivators at that level are extremely rare, barely more than 2 exist. Then the chief continued, but if this person does possess a third attribute that would shift the balance entirely, it'd shake the entire pioneer community, because according to research, different attributes clash within the human body, it's nearly impossible for them to coexist. So far, no pioneer has ever been confirmed to possess 3 different spiritual attributes. He added one last thought, if he really has a spiritual weapon, then the fact we didn't detect a third attribute might actually be a good thing. Let's hope such a powerful pioneer never becomes humanity's enemy. The story now shifts to our MC, who is in the middle of taking a shower. As he finishes and steps out, he begins thinking to himself, there's less than a year until the official spiritual energy revival. Yet anomalies and phenomena are already erupting everywhere. Anomalies are becoming highly active. He dries his hair using his fire attribute, and his mind drifts back to recent developments. Many pioneers, like myself, have started cultivating on their own. Once the interface between body and spiritual world is opened, we become more sensitive to changes in heaven and earth like those people I encountered at the underground river. Even without Xia country's official recognition, self-trained pioneers have generally reached the level of 1-star ghost penetration realm. Now that Xia country is reaching out to wild pioneers like me, it shows that both official and wild pioneers are in a relatively peaceful phase of mutual exploration. Anomalies are still within controllable limits, and there's no serious conflict among pioneers yet. He picks up his clothes and starts getting dressed, still deep in thought. However, even though the government established the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, it still hasn't gone public. People everywhere are talking more frequently about local instability and unexplained phenomena. It's clear the government is trying both to protect humanity and issue early warnings. Then, he thinks back to burning buildings from his past life. Normal city buildings turn to ash and chaos. Remembering them, he says, but the problem lies exactly here. I can feel it, the government has no confidence in launching full-scale cultivation. With such a large population, once information is made public, order will collapse. Internal unrest will spread chaos and death. As it stands now, even recognized pioneers can't yet stabilize societal upheaval. Internal and external threats will only accelerate the collapse. So, this gentle approach from the government isn't wrong. After all, human hearts are more frightening than ghosts or gods. But what worries me is that the development of anomalies is exceeding my expectations. Just as this thought crosses his mind, a notification pops up from his system, a reading related to the dark attribute, specifically one of its sub-attributes. The MC narrows his eyes and reflects. What I encountered today was a typical mutated product of dark attribute contamination. From touching the black mist, I could tell it belongs to a sub-branch of the dark attribute. Known as the shadow attribute, a natural enemy to pioneers. However, these anomalies are far more intelligent than typical exotic beasts. They not only feast on humans' pioneer bodies are a great nutritional source for them. They may even cooperate to trap and kill pioneers. Though they're still not on the same level as the true dark-type anomalies I saw before, the kind that could destroy a country, even a continent. With just one of them still, if I hadn't tracked them today, that squad and the one trying to recruit me might not have made it. Even just a sub-attribute was so sinister and disgusting. Full dark attribute threats are simply too dangerous. Then he looks at the system's status note, temporarily unabsorbable. That sparks another line of thought, but if it's labeled temporarily unabsorbable, does that mean I'll be able to absorb it once system conditions are met? It might even be the key to turning the tide. He then does a mental inventory of his powers and techniques. Now I possess the golden sun breathing technique of the yang attribute, the divine thunder tempering of the thunder attribute, and the crimson flame blade technique, a sub-attribute of yang called inner flame. Not just high-tier attributes, I also have corresponding techniques that perfectly suit me. Plus, my current strength is a 3-star ghost axe realm. There should be very few pioneers who can rival me. He takes a breath, but then his thoughts end on a firm, ominous note, but it's still not enough. Just then, the MC's phone starts ringing. He glances at the screen and mutters to himself, it's Auntie's call. Why did she suddenly call? As soon as he picks up the phone, his aunt greets him warmly, hello, how have you been? Listen, your cousin is coming to study near your place. I don't feel comfortable with her staying alone in a hotel. Can she stay at your place for a few days? Hearing that his cousin is coming, the MC thinks to himself, cousin's coming? The only thing I remember about her is, she was a student obsessed with studying. I don't even remember what she looks like. He responds on the call, just have her come over. There's a spare room at home. Then he asks, when is she coming? To this, his aunt replies, no need to pick her up, I'll give her the address and let her come over by herself. Then adds with a smile, she'll bring you some special cookies and snacks when she arrives. She should be there by tomorrow afternoon. Sorry for the sudden trouble. The MC, unfazed, says with a soft chuckle, Auntie, what trouble, don't worry at all. Then adds, I've got some things to do, so I'll hang up now, and he ends the call. Meanwhile, at the aunt's house, we see a girl sitting at her computer, intensely browsing articles about spiritual energy martial arts. She's reading pieces discussing Deathtown, park-based beast challenges, and various anomaly events. Just then, her mom, the MC's aunt, enters the room and asks, did you finish packing? The girl responds, clearly not thrilled, yeah, everything's packed, but I really don't want to stay with cousin brother. The hotel was fine for me. Her mom replies in a firm tone, it's much safer staying with your cousin than being alone out there. I trust him more than any hotel staff. Be sure not to cause trouble when staying there. Help out around the house when you can, alright? Before she can say more, the girl shoves her mom playfully out of the room and says, don't worry, I get it. As she shuts the door, she thinks to herself, one hurdle at a time. No matter what cousin is like, he won't be harder to handle than an anomaly. The next day, we see the girl walking with her phone in hand, following a map. A digital voice from the map says, you've arrived at your destination. She looks up at a large hotel-style building in front of her and mutters, this should be the place. A girl named Linny directly comes in front of our hero's house, and as our hero is stepping out of his room, she sees him and says hello. Seeing this girl standing in front of him, our hero says, so your name is Linny, and in his mind, he thinks, I totally couldn't recognize her. Then our hero takes her inside the house and starts asking her questions, so you have come here for the summer camp? To this, Linny replies with a yes, then he tells her, if you need anything, just call me, to which the girl says, thank you, cousin. Our hero then gives her an extra key and says, keep this with you, I'm going to my room now, your room is that one down the hall. The girl takes the extra key and, for the trouble, apologizes to him, sorry for the trouble these few days. As our hero is leaving from there, the girl thinks in her mind, it seems it's easy to get along with my cousin, he won't interfere in my work. And as our hero is walking away from the room, he glances sideways at his cousin's sister and thinks, is it my perception acting up, or is she not hiding her presence well? When she was sitting on the couch earlier, I did faintly sense an unfamiliar trace of spiritual energy, could it be, she's already become a pioneer too? Then her excuse about coming here for summer camp, was it actually because? And thinking this, he walks out of the room. When our hero leaves the room, Linny picks up her phone and starts chatting in her group chat. The first message she types is, cousin seems nice, doesn't look like he'll interfere with my activities, when do we move? Seeing this message, the group members become active. One of them, using the ID 18-year-old sultry woman, replies, don't rush, keep a low profile, things are chaotic here, there are a lot of pollution zones and some are already claimed by other pioneers. Then another message pops up from the user scanned in online romance for 50 cents, who writes, I heard too, last time at the underground river, two teams clashed, and a super powerful guy cut out a sun with one slash and forced the others to back off. After that, 18-year-old sultry woman sends another message, one slash cut out the sun, seriously, that must be an extreme young attribute, definitely a high-tier pioneer. The user scanned in online romance for 50 cents responds, it's real, I heard the same. To this, Linny writes, that's why we must be careful, the spiritual energy revival hasn't officially begun, everything is hidden, who knows how many monster-level pioneers Zia country is hiding, we mustn't draw attention. Both group members reply again and then closing the chat, Linny types, alright, I'll wait for your signal. After finishing the conversation, she thinks to herself, forget it, I've just arrived here, it's better if I don't cultivate for now, if my cousin catches me, it'll be very hard to explain. 3 days passed just like that, and our hero was already feeling a little troubled by his cousin's presence. He thought to himself, but who would have thought, living with my cousin would actually cause a lot of trouble for my cultivation. During this time, he was also doing light training, but his meditation and breath regulation were constantly interrupted. Even cultivating the golden sun breathing technique might be seen, whenever he used the technique, the light it emitted was so bright that he feared it would be noticed. Still, these were just small inconveniences, the most terrifying part was that his cousin had started cooking for him. Then dinner's ready, tonight's tomato beef stew, cold cucumber salad, and corn rib soup, Linny called out cheerfully. Our hero sat down at the dining table and replied, alright, you've been really considerate today, let me handle the dishes. But Linny shook her head and said, no need to worry, I'm staying here, so at least I can do this much. As he ate, our hero thought to himself, too polite, faultless etiquette, does housework like someone with OCD. Still, not stopping her is also part of making her drop her guard. Only then can I get to the bottom of her identity. Just then, Lin Yi's phone began ringing. Seeing the caller, our hero asked seriously, "What's the matter? A friend's call made you leave your dinner?" He then stood up from the table and said, "I'll leave you two alone. I'm going back to my room." Lin Yi raised her hand slightly, as if to stop him, but before she could speak, he had already left without looking back. Once our hero left, Lin Yi picked up the phone. A voice on the other end said, "What did you say? Another major world shift will happen tomorrow." Hearing this, Lin Yi asked about the time, the caller gave it, and she replied, "Alright, I'll definitely be there by 3 o'clock. Okay then, let's meet at the entrance of Manhwa Town." At that moment, our hero was hiding outside the window, listening to everything. Upon hearing Manhwa Town, he thought to himself, Manhwa Town, isn't that the trendy town in the suburbs, just an hour's drive? Then Lin Yi began cultivating. Feeling her spiritual power, our hero smiled. Just as I suspected, my cousin is also a pioneer. Luckily, with her current strength, she probably can't detect me, but she's already a 2-star Ghost Axe realm as a high schooler and might soon advance further. Is her talent so extreme that it's made her personality a bit odd? So this summer camp was a cover. The world shift is her real reason for coming. She must have learned about the shift and used it as an excuse to come here. Every world shift is both an opportunity and a way for me to gain new techniques to enhance my power. I wonder what attribute will appear in Manhwa Town this time. With that thought, he immediately set off toward Manhwa Town at full speed. Who cares what's there, whatever it is, it's all going to be mine. He left so quickly that Lin Yi, sitting inside, slowly opened her eyes. A faint unease flashed across her face as she thought. That was strange. Was it just my imagination or was someone watching me? The scene shifts directly to Manhwa Town where we see Lin Yi. Standing beside her is a girl from the chat group with the username Scammed in Online Romance for 50 cents. She walks up to Lin Yi and teasingly asks, "You've been staying at your cousin's place these past few days, right? So is he hot or not?" Thinking of our hero, Lin Yi answers honestly, "He's a good guy. As for looks, he's an ordinary, average person. He's definitely not the kind of impressive man you'd go for, he's more of a pretty boy." Hearing this, Scammed in Online Romance for 50 cents looks slightly disappointed. "Well, that's a letdown," she mutters. Just then, 18-year-old sultry woman walks over and says to her, "Don't forget, Lin Yi once described herself as just an ordinary person and there are more group members here too." Among them is a boy sitting a bit farther away who calls out, "Alright, since everyone's here, let's get to the main issue." Lin Yi interrupts to ask, "By the way, she's not coming again?" The boy shakes his head. "We're still only 6 people. She's not coming." The group starts moving forward, and 18-year-old sultry woman remarks, "She's always been this mysterious, we're used to it, let's not waste any more time." The team heads toward their destination, completely unaware that our hero is sitting some distance away, quietly observing them. Watching their spiritual power, he thinks to himself, "Seems like my cousin's team is pretty low-key. The weakest among them is at 2-star Ghost Axe realm, and that guy who spoke earlier is even at 3-star. From what they said, there's also a powerful member who rarely shows up, and on the mountain above this influencer town." He then turns his gaze toward an area where an anomaly is occurring, a massive vine descending from the sky. Just like the beanstalk from the fairy tale, Jack and the Beanstalk. The vine appears randomly around Manhwa Town at unpredictable times. This contradicts previously known information, it's beyond our understanding. It's clearly a world shift, but it's not related to weather or land structure collapse. It's an anomaly that appeared out of nowhere, drifting around, causing no damage. It doesn't release thunder or blazing light, it just floats silently, phasing in and out. Meanwhile, Lin Yi's team has reached the area. Seeing the strange sight, everyone looks a bit unsettled. "My god, that's it? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it," 18-year-old sultry woman says, fear in her voice. From behind, Scammed in Online Romance for 50 cents speaks nervously, "Wait, maybe we shouldn't go any further." Lin Yi turns to her. "Why do you say that?" The girl swallows hard and answers. "Only after seeing it for real did I feel something was off. My whole body's gone cold. Did you guys see the rumors on the internal forums? I know someone from that team. When the vine appeared last time, they tried to make contact with it. They were much stronger pioneers than me, not low level by any means. But after coming here, they all went missing." Seeing the corrupted energy in the air, her face turns pale, she clutches her head in fear. "I can feel it, if we go closer, we'll end up just like them. Not even bones left to bury." Scammed in Online Romance for 50 cents could feel the corrupt energy from the vine surrounding her and she began speaking frantically. "I originally thought I could handle the pioneer's gamble, return with fortune or die trying. But the moment I saw that thing, I felt instinctive fear. My intuition tells me this is a very high-level world anomaly, a new, unknown, and powerful mutation. I'm not ready to bury everything here. I want to withdraw." Seeing her in such a state, her teammates grew a bit more serious. Linny then spoke up. "Yes, you're right. We can feel it too. Within this wood-type vine, there's a sense of desolation. I can't describe it, like it's been submerged in the river of time, where all life has perished and vitality is gone. That's why we feel so deeply uneasy and unwell. It's like it's trying to devour our life force." After saying this, Linny held her hand and added, "But this is the path of martial pioneers." Meanwhile, far away, hidden from their sight on the mountains, our hero could also feel the suffocating, deathly aura. Out of all the world anomalies I've seen, aside from the dark attribute anomaly, this vine gives the most unpleasant feeling. And they actually decided to cultivate here. That takes serious courage. Clearly it's a plant, normally a symbol of vitality, yet it feels lifeless. It doesn't feel alive, it's more like a dead thing disguised as living, devoid of spiritual energy. Back below, Linny addressed her team to keep their morale up. "Friends, we don't have much time to hesitate. Since it's dangerous, let's just sense energy around this area. Stay within visual range, don't wander too far." Following her lead, everyone picked their spots and began cultivating, thinking it should be relatively safe this way. Linny herself sat atop a tree branch and began her own cultivation. From a distance, our hero watched his cousin and commented to himself, "Not bad. They're cautious, cultivating at a safe but efficient distance." As expected of a top student, she calculated the optimal benefit range, neither reckless nor timid. Before long, Linny's energy began to surge, sending a powerful wave upward into the sky. Our hero noticed immediately. She's about to break through, she's already close to 3-star. My cousin really is a genius. Down below, her teammates were also excited. "This is 3-star Ghost Realm," one of them exclaimed. But just as they were talking, the vine's roots started moving toward them. The boy they had been following shouted urgently, "This is bad, the vine is coming straight at us. It sensed us from this far away," 18-year-old sultry woman gasped in fear. In moments, the vine lashed out, grabbing some of the team members and absorbing their energy. Everyone panicked and started running. Scammed in online romance for 50 cents screamed, "Run, run as fast as you can, if we don't, we're dead. E's breakthrough caused too much of a disturbance, we must not get entangled by the vine. Once it wraps around us, the desolate aura will consume us instantly, will melt on the spot." The vine had already reached Linny, striking her protective shield, cracks began to spread across the energy barrier. While everyone else was running, 18-year-old sultry woman grabbed scammed in online romance for 50 cents hand. "No, we can't run, if we do, you will be in danger." Scammed in online romance for 50 cents snapped back, "Then what do you want me to do, use my spiritual energy to protect her? She chose to cultivate here, so now she gets to level up while I die for her." 18-year-old sultry woman ignored her anger and turned to the group. "Everyone calm down," the boy who seemed to be leading them spoke coldly, "Life and death are fated, wealth is heaven's will, if we don't leave now, we'll all die with her, you're too young, don't act on emotion, we're all just acquaintances here." Before he could finish, 18-year-old sultry woman slapped him hard across the face, "Then to hell with you all, I won't abandon my comrade." With that, she charged toward Linny while the rest of the group fled in the opposite direction. Up in the mountains, our hero was watching the entire scene unfold, his eyes filled with urgency, and he said with deep concern, "My cousin probably doesn't even realize the danger she's in right now. Still just a student, this mind's power is overwhelming. I don't even know if I can save her with my current strength, but there's not much time left." Our hero drew out his sword, determination blazing in his eyes, and readied himself for the fight. His thoughts were firm. "I promised Aunt that I would take care of my cousin, the promise I made must not be broken." Meanwhile, the sultry woman was rushing forward to save Linny. She was destroying the vine as she advanced toward Linny, but within moments, the vine coiled around her too. At the same time, the vine had completely shattered Linny's shield, and just as it was about to catch her. At that very moment, our hero leapt in with his heavy sword infused with blazing yang energy and struck directly at the vine. The vine began to burn from the force of his yang energy, retreating rapidly and halting its attack. The two team members who had been running away stopped in their tracks, stunned, as they saw the vine retreating and no longer attacking. The hero's yang energy was so incredibly powerful that the entire area began to glow with his radiance. Seeing his energy, the members of the team were astonished. The boy who had been fleeing earlier exclaimed in disbelief, "Is this another pioneer?" The sultry woman shielded her eyes from the blinding light of the hero's energy and thought with awe, "That's the purest yang attribute. Makes sense, only such a high-tier attribute could force back this desolate vine." The same boy, still staring in shock, began thinking to himself, "Why? I consider myself extremely talented. I reached the 3-star Ghost Axe realm in a very short time. There are probably only a handful in the entire country with such speed. Linny's talent barely matches mine. not even that far ahead, but still, if there are pioneers like that out there, then what are we? Are we just stars dimly shining beneath the radiant moon? He crushed me, no, he crushed all of us. Just what kind of existence is he? Meanwhile, our hero was still standing in that very spot. When his system notification suddenly appeared before him, detected extreme wood attribute, initiating auto-writing. Moments later, another message appeared, complete. After that, wood energy began flowing through our hero's body, filling him with life force. He felt the energy invigorating him, and a joyful smile spread across his face as he exclaimed in pure admiration, "What an incredible wood attribute technique! As long as there's life nearby, this is basically a perpetual energy-absorbing engine."